It is Friday, September 30th, and welcome to the SVG TV News. I am Khalil Kato with the details. The development of the new port in Kingstown is said to be going well and on schedule for where it should be at this time. Giving an update on the API this morning, Minister of Finance and Economic Planning Camilo Gonzalez said the land has been cleared. They have relocated the people who lived there and the people who worked there as fishers, among other things.
They've designed the port, they've done the undersea studies, they've finalized everything there, the designs are complete. What they're doing currently now is relocating a sewer line. CWSA had a sewer line that ran through the middle of where the port will be and out, far out into the sea, past the point where the fort is. But we have to relocate that sewer line and the systems involved in that sewage system. So that has to be relocated. And then the contractor is now seeing about dredging and getting the material, the rocks and the sand that they will need to bring into the country to do some land reclamation.
He is hoping that if the project continues at the pace at which it is going, it can be completed in 2025.
You know, we built some beautiful houses for the people who used to live there. They're now living up in Lomans, and excellent upgrade in their quality of living. That project is currently a little bit ahead of schedule. So we're hoping that the port, if it continues like this, will be completed in 2025.
The finance minister also says the location for the acute referral hospital to be built at Arnesville was not chosen out of the blue. He was responding to a query posed by the host of the morning SVG program, which is some persons are of the view that the location chosen is not the best choice. Minister Gonzalez noted that the choice to build the hospital at Arnesville was decided on after careful consideration with the World Bank, which is funding the project.
In 2018, we got money from the World Bank to do a consultancy, a study, where international experts came in and looked all around St. Vincent and the Grenadines to decide where is the best location to put a hospital if you're building a new hospital. You have to think about access from both coasts. You have to think about climate change and flooding. You have to think about the existing road network. You have to think about where most of the population resides. And you have to think about where you have land. And the expert recommended that the #1 place to put the hospital is right there at the site of the tarmac. Now, I remember on the point of flooding, when the government was building the temporary schools lower down, closer to the sea, on the same tarmac. The temporary school that housed grammar school last year is housing Thomas Saunders this year, and where Girls High School is currently residing, because we're fixing all the other schools. People said that's a waste of time. Those schools are going to flood out with the first rain. We have had torrential rains for the last few days in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Your weather report is still talking about flash flood warnings up to this evening. The schools are dry. There is no flooding. And we have engineered the hospital to take into account the fact of the location of the hospital, the location of the river next door, the location of the water table below the ground, and it is engineered to take advantage of its location while minimizing any risk of flood.
The finance minister highlighted that the Ministry of Finance worked very hard to put together a package of money to ensure the construction of the hospital. He says everything is now in place and construction will commence within the second half of 2023.
When we first started this thing, we thought the hospital was going to cost us about $50 million US. That was the initial estimate. But we are not immune from price increases that are going on right now. And as we designed it, people added this, added that. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? The cost went from $50 million to over $80 million. And US dollars. And we have secured all of that money. We have $50 million from the World Bank, and more than $50 million from the World Bank, and the remainder from the OPEC Fund for International Development, OFID. And that money is signed, sealed, and delivered. It's not that we're hoping to get it and that it's It's, you know, say it's in your back pocket or whatever the case may be. The money is all agreed, and we have all the documentation. So we will begin work on this hospital in the second half of next year, because you have to tender it, you have to have people bid, you have to have international contractors come in, visit the site, all sorts of different things. But the money is there, the designs are there, now it's just the paperwork.
Members of Parliament will return to the House of Assembly on October 17th to continue the business of the nation. Yesterday, the Clerk of the House of Assembly announced that the next session of Parliament, which was scheduled for October 10th, has been rescheduled to the 17th. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves on a radio program recently indicated that they would look into postponing the next sitting until after the burial of the Clear Valley Five, who perished in the vehicular accident in Sandy Bay on September 11th. A similar postponement of Parliament took place when 7 students, all of Fancy, perished in an accident at Rock Gutter in Oya. Despite the challenges that students at the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College faced over the last 2 years, over 700 of them made it to graduation. Speaking at the graduation ceremony for the SVG Community College on Wednesday, Minister of Education Curtis King congratulated and commended the students and teachers for their achievements.
Your graduation from this institution after a period of 2 most challenging years. You did so despite COVID-19. You did so despite 32 explosions of our La Soufrière volcano. You did so despite many personal difficulties and sacrifices. That is why we congratulate you today. No praise is too great for you, your lecturers, your instructors, your parents and guardians, and others, all of whom have helped you along the way. And when I consider your magnificent performance or performances at the 2022 sitting of the various programs that you are engaged in, CAPE, the Associate Degree Program, and other certificates, and Director Scott mentioned the Bachelor's Program in Nursing, I can only say, congratulations, well done.
The Education Minister said that the outstanding performances of the students will be rewarded by the government of SVG. He further encouraged the students to continue to stay focused on their journey, on their future journey.
Comfort in the knowledge that to achieve your status as graduates, you collectively took a rapid flight. You worked hard day and night. And today, your hope for a brighter future is very much alive. You can take comfort in the knowledge that your outstanding performances will be rewarded by this government. And why not? You are recognized as having a crucial and important role to play in the transformation of our economy and society. To begin with, all of the top performers of this year's program will be rewarded with national scholarships and exhibitions. And many more will receive tuition scholarships to enable them to pursue higher education and training. And still, others will be rewarded with the opportunity to study in Cuba, in Taiwan, in Wales, and many other countries with whom we have bilateral agreements covering tertiary education and training for our citizens.
The graduating class of 2022 has been encouraged to find their gifts and ace them. This encouragement came from feature speaker, national scholar, and business executive Shafia London during the graduation ceremony on Wednesday.
Something good. You have a responsibility to find your gift and ace it. You don't have to go anywhere to discover it. It speaks to you. Pay very close attention to the thing that makes you happy and the thing you do the absolute best without even trying. Like Steve Harvey once said, if you think you can fry chicken better than anyone else, you should be in a restaurant or owning a restaurant. After all, people make millions of dollars frying chicken. We know any examples? KFC. Your gift will make room for you. Some people are born to be nurses, caregivers, policemen. That is your gift. No matter what you want and choose to do with this gift, it is not just important for your life and for your future, but it is important to this country. The foundation and future of this country, as of today, literally depends on you. A new generation is being called upon. You are that generation. We will need the knowledge and problem-solving skills of the science graduates to create the best healthcare system in our country.
London further encouraged the students to set goals and work hard towards them.
Let your spirit soar and unleash your gift on this world. So first, we celebrated. Second, we need to find that gift. Lastly, I'm calling on each and every one of you to set goals for your lives and do everything you can to achieve them. I do two things. I divide my goals into two parts. I have first, long-range goals, 5, 10 years, 20 years, dreams. You must keep dreaming. Ask Mr. Scott about me and daydreaming. I was sitting in the class and daydream all day. Dreaming about what car I'm going to drive, how I'm going to be this and be that. Your dreams tell you who you want to become. They could be outlandish. They're your dreams. They tell you where you want to go. Who do you want to meet? They tell you about your future for yourself and your family. It's all a dream. There's even a Bible verse for it. Without dreams and vision, a people perish. You must have something to go after that inspires your heart and your soul. Don't be afraid to dream big, but remember to wake up.
Minister of Air and Seaports and Grenadine Affairs, Honorable Julian Francis, is said to be recovering well after suffering a stroke a few months ago. Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Camilo Gonzalez, gave an update on Minister Francis's recovery on the API this morning.
He, as we all know, suffered a stroke, and he had some challenges immediately after the stroke. But all of those challenges are tremendously reduced. I've visited him. His physical therapy is going well. He's walking again. He has movement and dexterity in all of his limbs and extremities, and he's sharp as a tack. The good thing about this particular stroke that Julian suffered was that he never lost consciousness, he never lost the ability to speak, and so mentally he's right there, sharp as he ever was. It's just an issue of continuing his physical therapy. But he's very optimistic. His physical therapist is very optimistic, and we're hoping to have Julian back as soon as possible.
Still on the local scene, Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Transport and Works Montgomery Daniel has hailed the efforts of the Kingstown Cooperative Credit Union Limited, KCCU, in leading the way in solar energy among the corporate sector in SVG. Speaking at the launch of the KCCU Kingstown Park Solar Panel project on Thursday, Minister Daniel said the credit union, as a corporate citizen, has responded well to the government's call for the appropriate use of renewable energy, with over $1 million invested in solar energy.
With all of that, I think that KCCU is on the right path with regards to solar energy usage in this country. This government is committed to reducing the reliance on fossil fuels in generating energy. And in this regard, KCCU is on the ball with that. But that the government has been trying. St. Vincent and the Grenadines do not have much biomass. But solar systems are on the rise. And that today, solar systems are available throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And that solar panels are imported duty-free in this country.
Minister Daniel reminded the public that the policy of the government is to drastically reduce the use of fossil fuels in SVG, with the objective being to ensure a cleaner and safer environment for all. President of the Fisher Folk Association, Winsbert Harry, has said the new requirements of the Kingstown Fish Market will now cause fish prices to become less affordable for consumers. The Kingstown Fish Market recently informed the fish vendors and fishermen that some of their services at the market will be increased. Harry said this is not the only issue that is affecting the fishing industry. He noted that recently, the fishing industry has been getting a hard hit, especially with the rising cost of gas, the crisis at the Caliacua Fish Market, and other equipment that fishermen have to use on a daily basis.
Ways to take from the fisher and take from the vendor, and I find they need to come up with alternative ways of making money, and then what are you going to do next? So we need to have dialogue, and if you're looking to build the fishing industry, we need to have dialogue. Look at how the fishing industry going. I can speak broadly. We can look at the situation in Caliacua. We still have the fisher folks out there selling fish from under almond tree. We have the situation in Rose Place, where the fisher folks from Rose Place relocated to Romans Bay. Nothing in position for them. So where are we looking to go with the industry? I think we need to have the industry taken very seriously. We cannot have big development at the top and to the bottom is in a hole. So we need to build from below and develop from the top. So I really asking on the authorities, whether the manager of the agriculture input warehouse, the minister, to look into some of the issues that affect the fishing industry, because there's a lot of issues affecting the industry, and we cannot skyrocket the price, because who will buy the fish? And fish is stuck, not chicken, where it could store for months. As soon as they had the fish today, it started decay and lose its quality. And we need persons to come and purchase the fish in a sustainable way.
Harry said that if the fishing industry continues in the way it is heading, fish will become a part of the food import bill.
If we're looking to cut the food import bill by 2025, and then you have an increase to the public with fish, then the people will have to import more, and then we want the nation to eat fish. We need fish to be into the school system, but you cannot have fish into the school feeding program now when you have fish selling at $15 and sometimes $12 a pound. People used to come to the Kingstown Fish Market where they used to get 25 balloons for $5. They will now have to buy that for at a pound. We used to come and get the skipjack fish we used to sell for 3 for $10. That will be now selling at $8 a pound. And rabbin, we used to get 3 pound of rabbin for $10. You know, we'll be getting that at $15. So it really not going to be reasonable. I'm being very honest, not because I'm a fisherman, but I think that it needs to have a balance where it could really be structured properly. So I'm calling on the management. Come to the table. Stop come out with these memo every minute. Oh, come on, you're driving people crazy.
The president of the Fisher Folk Association is supporting the vendors who were protesting against the increase of the goods and services at the Kingstown Fish Market yesterday. Harry said that since the Agriculture Input Warehouse took over the management of the fish market, the style of management is like the time of slavery. He noted that the protest demonstration will continue and strike action is also being considered.
The Agriculture Input Warehouse has been taking over the management of the Kingstown Fish Market. The style of management is like in slavery. It goes back to the 1950s where they just operating as bully. And we need to cut out the bullying stuff. It's just memo every minute. You need to do something better than that. We close the market since COVID every Saturday at 3 o'clock. and looking for the same fees. Sometimes we cannot even go to sea on a Sunday again. It's so costly right now, and to have a serious increase to us, we have to increase to the nation, and I find that it's very unreasonable calling on the management and director of the input warehouse. I'm even calling on the ministry to step into this and look at it at a very standpoint, and I was calling for it a couple months ago where I'm asking the government if they could have a fuel concession and gas for the fishers, because if you have a fuel concession for gas on the fishers, I think it will have a balance where the fisher will be able to sell the fish at a reasonable cost to the vendors, and then the vendors will sell to the consumer at a reasonable cost. The fish vendors will continue this line of demonstration for the rest of the week, and we are planning to encourage the fisher folks to go on a strike by Monday, Tuesday, to strike against this to see if they could come up with an alternative. It's time that we take a stand, so if you could come and get your fish now, it's better you get it before October the 1st.
Health authorities here have received confirmation from the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, that the influenza A or H2N3 virus is on island. This was revealed on NBC Radio's face-to-face program this morning by Chief Health Promotions Officer Shanika John, who says part of the surveillance is that persons have been going to the various health centers to get tested. John said the precautionary measures to prevent influenza A, commonly referred to as the bad flu, are similar to those used to prevent COVID-19.
Washing your hands properly, sanitizing, coughing and sneezing in a tissue and immediately disposing of it, getting rest, staying hydrated, physical distancing, staying at home if you're not feeling well, keeping the kids at home. All of those measures are not just isolated to COVID. And maybe we are, when I say we, in terms of the communication globally, that was really focused on COVID. We didn't really express and encourage persons that these are measures that could spread between whether it's COVID, TB, influenza, or any other infectious diseases along that particular path, so that people can protect themselves.
John urged persons to seek medical care if they have symptoms of the flu and warns parents against self-medicating their children.
Especially, give them a Panadol in the morning and send them off to school. That is also not advised at this time. And then if children, especially and those within the vulnerable population, are not getting better, we encourage them to seek professional care. I know we'll have to self-medicate and try the little herbs and the plants and the bush tea and all of these things. But if after 2-3 days there's no improvement, it's time to seek care, because this could even go into a further stage and could likely turn into something very fatal.
As this country, like many countries around the world, eases out of the pandemic, the Chief Health Promotions Officer is also urging persons to get back on track with other vaccinations, which she says are helpful in fighting the flu, COVID-19, and other infections.
So we have those with childhood. Some parents, guardians have not been up to date with their child vaccine. We encourage you to go out to the facilities to do that. We also have those persons within the public service, the private sector, who do a lot of traveling. And the yellow fever vaccine is also one of the requirements for a lot of these countries that we go back and forth to. I remember just going to Jamaica just a couple of weeks ago. That was part of the requirements. If you've not considered just your general vaccination for your overall health and well-being, it's really an opportunity to do it now that the vaccines are available, because when these vaccines are not available, it's really a scramble to try to ensure that we have vaccines in the country.
Expert witnesses are to be introduced to the court case that the public sector unions have brought challenging the government's COVID-19 vaccine mandate. President of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, told SVG TV News that the legal team last week made an application for expert witnesses to be present at the next hearing of the court, scheduled for the end of November and December 1st.
So we want the authorities to repeal the law and to reinstate the teachers with their benefits. Of course, the matter is in court, and the end of November, the 4th of December. We had a hearing last week where our legal team made an application to introduce export witnesses, because there's a medical part of this whole exercise, right? So an application was made and the court is looking at it. All submissions from both sides must be done in the month of October. So once that is done, then the judge would call. But we want our teachers to always be watchful with the weather conditions and to exercise all the necessary precautions and to be ready and prepared for anything that would impact us.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries has announced a shortened hunting season. According to the Forestry Officer for Compliance, Bradford Latham, their observations and research show that there is an increased number of wildlife species, so a decision was made to reopen the hunting season, though shortened. A release from the API says the hunting season will open on October 1st and will end on December 31st. Following the eruption of La Soufrière, the ministry took the decision to place a moratorium on hunting to allow species to replenish as well as to preserve the habitats of the protected and partially protected wildlife, including mammals, reptiles, and birds. The Forestry Department is appealing to persons to comply with the laws of the country and the guidelines provided by the ministry to ensure that the animals are there for future seasons.